Welcome, everybody, to Night of the Nerdy Laser, episode 121. And we're talking about Kevin Bacon being hypnotized in Stir of Echoes from 1999. I'm your host, Richard. Jeffrey's in a bad mood. Yule.
And I'm him. I'm Jeffrey in a bad mood. Loud.
In a bad moody.
Sorry.
Do you know, every time I hear somebody say like bad mood, I think of Saved by the Bell, the Christmas special where they're in the mall, because the guy's last name is Moody and he goes, "You put me in a bad moody. I mean mood." Anyway.
Is that from the regular run of the show?
I mean, it's one of the later ones. Yeah, I mean, it's the first run, but it's one of the later ones. Like, they're grown up. I mean, they're like 17. They're like juniors or whatever.
I have the box set on DVD somewhere.
Yeah,
back
they go. It's the one with the homeless girl. You
I don't
never
know.
seen it? Oh man, it's a good one. Yeah, they meet a homeless girl and a homeless guy, and
What's the episode where what's her face gets addicted to like painkillers or whatever?
oh yeah, that's the I'm so excited. That's where they're becoming a band.
Yeah. Well, you gotta get into drugs if you're gonna be in a band. I mean, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
We're here to talk about this great movie that I've seen more times than I could count, because I guess I had Showtime back in the day, or one of those pay channels, and it just came on all the time. And like back then, I would just like put something on and watch it in the background, or really watch it. I mean, so I saw this movie a ton, but it's been a good decade, or maybe, I mean, probably at least 10 years since I've seen it.
I'm curious
Maybe
to
15 years.
I'm curious to see how you think it holds up. So, fun fact for me, I
Never seen it.
could have sworn I've seen this movie because everybody, the thing you always hear is, "Oh, it's better than The Sixth Sense, and it was just buried because that one was so popular." And it's like, okay, maybe that's true. We'll find out. But I was like, okay, I'll watch it. So I swear I'm watching it. 10 minutes in, I'm like, okay, doesn't look familiar. 15 minutes in, nothing looks familiar. 20 minutes in, nothing's familiar. Like a third or like 2/3 done with the movie, I'm like, I don't think I've seen this movie one time in my life. And I swear, like, maybe I've seen clips or something, because I was like, oh yeah, I remember that Kevin Bacon like in the basement or whatever. But then I was like, I don't remember anything else that happened in this movie. And I mean, I'd say there's enough that happens in it that would kind of differentiate it from other stuff that you would know you've seen it. But if I don't remember all that, I'm pretty positive at this point I never saw it. So
Yeah, sounds like you've never seen it, Jeff.
never seen it.
Which is fine, because you've seen it now, and as of this recording, it is on Tubi, our favorite. The sequel is on Tubi. It's a straight sci-fi movie, so watch with caution.
And you gotta be careful, because if you take a nap and wake up, you might just be halfway into part 2 and not realize it the way Tubi works.
Did that happen to you? Oh, that happened to me. Yeah, what was I watching? I don't know if it was for the podcast or not. I think it was something random. I don't know. But I did that. I fell asleep, woke up, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And it just went to something else. Yeah.
I think it was like Basket Case or something, and then you woke up after, and it was just a totally different movie, because I remember you telling me that, and I was like, that's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. So yes, I mean, this really has a good cast of like people like that are like, oh, I know that, and it did come out the same year as Sixth Sense.
Yes.
So both come out in '99.
This is like one of those films like Volcano and Dante's Peak, and
I mean, a little bit. Look, the movie is based on a Richard Matheson book, so
okay.
He did I Am Legend and all those.
Yeah, good writer.
So I've never read, and the book is called A Stir of Echoes.
Okay.
So I mean, not much of a difference, but it is interesting. I mean, they were made in two different times. The book is in the 50s, movies in the late 90s. So there's got to be some I want to read the book in a way because I'd love to know what it was. I'd like to know what the differences are, if it is the same story or if they just kind of took the idea.
Yeah, yeah,
So this is, the movie's over 20 years old, 25 years old almost. So this will be spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it, come back. Or if you haven't seen it, don't care to be spoiled, listen away. Basic premise of this movie is that Kevin Bacon is a guy that has a boring job. He thinks his sister-in-law is full of shit, and she hypnotizes him. Basically makes him open his mind, is what she basically made him do while he was hypnotized, and that made him allowed to be contacted by a spirit, particularly.
yes,
Um, so that's the basic premise. So, but we open the movie. It's interesting. We open the movie finding out very quickly that their son can already talk to ghosts, and I mean he already has this ability.
yeah. He straight up, and when I was watching it, I was like, "Is this dude breaking like the fourth wall or whatever?" Because I was like, who the hell's he talking to? But no, it makes sense once you kind of figure out what's going on. But the way they do it and the way it's shot, he's kind of looking directly at the camera, so you're just like, eh,
What I think at first they're doing it to kind of mess with you, so you're not sure what's going on.
right. And I think that's probably effective enough.
How we talk about kids, especially in horror movies. What do you think about this kid?
Throw him out of a window. I'm tired of him. No,
Jeez.
no. Yeah, I don't know. He was a good actor. I mean, he's in it. I thought he was going to play more of a presence, sort of like the Haley Joel Osment or whatever
But
that
he
dude.
is in it a lot. He's not as important to the story, though.
No, no, he's not. But he has like the same ability. He could see dead people. He could talk to them and kind of. He's
Um,
like the HR for between the living and dead. They're
yeah,
like,
kind
you
of.
talk to this kid and he'll get you sorted out and send you to the right department.
Well, I have some issues with it that we'll talk about later. But funny thing is, before this, in the year before, he did The Wedding Singer. He was
Amazing.
unaccredited in The Wedding Singer. Then he did Stir of Echoes. You know what his next movie was?
Stir of Echoes 2.
Nothing.
Oh, he was done
He
after that?
never, nothing else on IMDb. Like completely empty. Like
Maybe
he
that's
never.
good. I don't
That's
know.
that's kind of crazy though. I mean, because this was a huge movie.
Yeah, and Wedding Singer was
I say
well.
huge movie, and it wasn't, but I mean, it was at least popular. I mean, people at least know what the hell it is.
That's true.
I mean, it probably made its money back.
I would hope. I didn't look that up, but I mean, I will before we're
I mean,
done.
I didn't either, because I mean, we don't typically dive into that, but uh, I I really like Kevin Bacon in this movie, man.
Oh, he's great.
The other thing is Catherine Irby plays Maggie, his wife. Do you know what she's from?
She looked familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I
She's
don't know.
from a bazillion things, but the most interesting one is she's the daughter in What About Bob?
Oh yeah, okay. You say most
um,
interestingly, you mean most importantly.
most importantly, yes. Um, Kevin Dunn, who is like, he's a guy that's like always like, oh, that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's in this movie and he's really good. Some of the things that's important to know about this movie is it takes place in a neighborhood.
Felt like Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's very close knit, kind
Yeah.
of. Um, so I found some plot points. Some of it I kind of figured out and I ignored, but the one that kind of bothers me, that's not that big a deal. We find out that through Jake, the son, telling the mom to get this certain girl to babysit him because Samantha said so.
Mhm.
Samantha was this girl that went missing 6 months prior.
Yeah.
So, which is all fine. So Samantha's very important to the story. She went missing. Nobody knows what happened to her. But and I understand that Tom, aka Kevin Bacon, is us, right? Like he's our eyes. Like we
Right.
are learning through him. And they just moved into this house, into this neighborhood. But he only lived through like he only lived a street over.
Yeah.
Wouldn't he have known that a fucking person went missing?
Yeah.
Especially if this is a close knit neighborhood.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
why did he never know those people beforehand?
Right. I mean, the way they hung out with the neighbors and how friendly they were. And you said a block away, so he knew these people. They like grew up together. They're all
You
friends.
would think so.
They
Well,
all know what's going on except him.
because she makes a comment. She said something about him being boring and he's never lived 6 months or 6 blocks away from where he is now.
Yeah.
So it's like, so that part bothered me because it's like, why didn't they just have him move from out of town?
Right.
Doesn't matter. That didn't matter. Didn't matter if he lived there, and that has no bearings on the story.
That's true. There's
So
another
that
part I
kind
want
of,
to talk about that does bother me.
well,
We'll
let's
get
go
there.
ahead.
We're not quite at that point in the story yet, but if you want me to just jump into it, I will.
Yeah, I mean, we can't go piece by piece, but yeah, let's go ahead and jump into what this shit bothers us.
Good.
What the shit bothers us
A new
this week
segment.
on what
So
the
the part
shit.
that bothers me is like the ghost club, I guess.
No, dude,
The
don't
police.
fuck with Neil, man. Neil is my favorite character in the
I
movie,
don't have any
man.
problem with the character. It just feels so out of place.
It is very shoved into the movie.
Like the mom and the son are just walking and they're at like a police funeral, like very, structured, and the police are doing like 21 gun salute and all that kind of stuff. And um, he just waves at that kid, and then Neil kind of like comes over after and talks to him. He's like, "Oh, you could be here." It was very much like the guy in The Shining that kind of
Yeah, I mean, very much
and
so.
explains everything. And
You know which one came? I mean, that could be in the book, so Stephen King could have ripped that off from the book.
that's true since we didn't read it. But yeah, like I mean, it felt very much just like that. And then so that part doesn't even bother me so much because he kind of could have told us, or
It's
we
the
kind of
nightclub.
we could have inferred like what happened, like, and he told her that kind of stuff. But then he's like, "Tell your husband to come," because I could tell you don't know him. How could you tell that he has the gift now? Anyway, she shows up, eh, and the best part's like I laughed at
The
this part because
the
like the
people
guy,
in the background are the best.
all the people in the background,
They're like, "Hey, man, shut the door."
he's like, man, they're paranoid. I can't let you in. I'm
It's
sorry. But
like,
then not just that, but like there's a fire escape outside of the apartment
oh
building,
yeah.
and they do it like a jump scare almost, like it's like
Mhm.
boom, 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 and it's like, wait, why did that even happen? And then like she talks to the lady, and she doesn't speak English, and she's yelling at her, but she still knows exactly where to go. Anyway, we get there. You know, he never goes. But basically, they use that as a bridge to say, like, it's real. Like, she wouldn't believe her husband, but she believed this total group of
I mean, I know,
strangers that, like,
no, I think she was starting to believe in a
and
way, and I think that knowing these people and hearing them, and the fact that
confirmed
her
with her.
son, well, her son knew the guy's name, and the guy knew her son's name.
That's true.
So I mean, they set it up a little bit, but I mean, I got you, but yeah, it's
It
like,
just it
hey
just
man,
feels so
close
weird.
the door.
It just felt so weird to me. And there, like I said, there's a few times in this movie where I just like cracked up because of such stupid like shots that were in the movie. And I'll talk about that one because it's more towards the end. So
I think I love the camera work in it. I do dig a lot of the camera work and a lot of the things that happen. Look, I'm not a big fan of like jump scares for the sake of jump scares, and I'm really not a big fan of like, okay, this scene is happening, it's happening, it's happening. Oh wait, he woke up. It was a dream.
Yeah.
But in this movie, it sort of makes sense. And Neil is an important character because he says something that is interesting that really makes you like understand Kevin Bacon, where, Kevin Bacon has seen all these images, but they're
Mhm.
just images. Neil said he had, his flashlight. And he has a flashlight, but it keeps going out, so he can't see
Yeah.
everything clearly. But the boy, a much better flashlight.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
But
the student
I do also like how long's it been going on, and she's like, whatever, and he's like, what happened? Who died? A car wreck?
yeah.
A child went missing? Death of a child? What was it? I'm like,
He's like, "No, he was hypnotized." He's like, "Ah, classic hypnotism. Nice. Wonderful. That'll do it every time." The way he talks is just kinda like, over the top sort of Neil and, like, exaggerated and stuff, but no, I mean, it just feels a little weird. Um, there was one other part I wanted to talk about, but, I don't remember what I was gonna say at this point, but what I'm really curious about is what our buddy Jason down at the dungeon thinks of this movie.
I don't know. I just left there, and I don't know what he thought. He was too busy going through moldy videotapes. He wasn't paying attention to me at all, because Jason can be found down at the dungeon or on Instagram, Southland_dungeon. And what does Jason have, you
Well,
ask? Well, he
everything.
has all sorts of things: Blu-rays, videotapes, moldy and non-moldy VHS, DVDs, 4Ks, boutique from Severin and Vinegar Syndrome. He's even got comics that I'm going through. He got some
Uh-oh.
cool Clive Barker comics,
Hmm.
so I'm helping him organize those because Jason hates comic books. And he's got records, all sorts of good stuff. So the Southland_dungeon is on Instagram, but the dungeon is located in Maryville, Tennessee, on East Broadway at the Roundabout. Go behind Southland Books and Cafe, and you will find Jason tied up down there, and you can go chat with him. Ask
Yep.
him about re- ask him for his free weekly tarot card reading.
Yes, please.
He loves those. What does he have behind the counter, Jeff?
I heard he has the best collection in Maryville of anime porn.
That's right. You just have to give him the special link and he'll bring out the box. For more information, go to southlandbooksandcafe.com.
Yes.
Okay, so some interesting things. So Samantha's sister, who I can't really remember her name, but Samantha's sister is babysitting Jake.
Familiar sister too. I can't. What?
Jake is talking to Samantha, and the sister freaks out and like steals Jake.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because at this time, Kevin Bacon is going to a football game, a very crowded high school football game that I would be like, fuck this.
I mean,
I mean,
it's
more it's
insane how they can't like walk through the crowd. And the
there's
funny
no
thing,
organization, and the security guards they're just like wanding people as they walk by. There's like no I mean, they just look like they're hurtling planes into the
it's like in Jingle All the Way when Arnold's trying to get to Turbo Man or whatever, trying to
yeah.
fight through the crowd. And so that's another part that I laughed at, because Kevin Bacon's like, "Oh my God, she's got Jake!" So he like runs through the crowd and he's like struggling to get through. But then they cut to a scene on the street and the wife's like right
Nobody's
there,
there.
and
Yeah.
she had no issue getting him. She's like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And I was like, "Wait a minute, why did he try so hard when all he had to do was just wait 5 seconds and just go backwards?" But it
So the
felt
mom,
very much that and Unbreakable, like at the stadium where all the people are there and Bruce
yeah, I
Willis
can see
bumps
that.
into him. So
Yeah.
reminded me of that. But that was another funny part. Not the one I wanted to talk about, but we'll get there.
So anyway, bottom line is that this is when we learn about Samantha, and honestly, we learned that Samantha just went missing. They don't know where she is. She ran away. The sister doesn't believe she ran away. The mother is just chalking it up to she ran away, and that's basically the last time we see them. We never see them again.
Yeah.
And then now he starts to get like pieces of Samantha. Like he'll see her in the house, and he'll see like things that happen to her. But like Neil said, it was only clips, so you might see like a fingernail break and a tooth slam on the ground and go flying. Oh, and a very fly like scene where Kevin Bacon's like pulling his own tooth out and shit.
Yeah. Or Poltergeist, where the guy peels his face off.
Yeah.
Kind of. It reminded me of that. Um, but yeah, and then something about like the red lights too, like anything with red kind of signaled it, and that sort of reminded me very much of Sixth Sense, because every time you see something red, it meant like death and all that stuff. So.
Yeah. So this starts the story of him trying to figure out what happened to Samantha.
Yeah.
Now I don't here you asked me what I would think of it now, and here's what I think.
Okay.
I I think the story, so he goes back to the sister-in-law and he's like, "Get this shit out of me. Close the fucking door that you opened."
Yeah.
So she tells him, she hypnotizes him again. The thing is he's in a movie theater and there's words on the screen, and she's telling him, she's trying to hypnotize him and all that. She's like, "You're alone in the theater?" He's like, "No, there's somebody else in there." She's like, "No, you're alone." And he starts freaking out, and then the words pop up on the screen and it says "dig." And I feel like from this moment on, I love this movie.
Yeah, you could feel how like frantic and like into it and like down the spiral like he's gotten at this point.
Yeah, so then he goes home and he's digging a big ass hole in his backyard. Him and his wife get in a fight and they're in the. So here's the funny. Okay, it's 1999. I mean, I guess people still sent letters back then, but she's reading a letter that her brother sent her to tell her that her grandmother who raised her and was like a mother was in the hospital again.
Yeah.
Who the fuck reads letters like this in 1999? And then he's like, so then Kevin Bacon, he's like,
No, she's not.
no, she already. And then the phone rings, and you can tell he was going to say she passed.
Yeah.
And that's indeed what happens. So she takes Jake and leaves, and this is when I just really dig this movie. No pun intended, or maybe intended. So it just, he just knows to dig.
Right.
And he knows that there's a song. He's trying to play it on his guitar. He doesn't really know all the chords. He can't, he's only seeing and hearing little bits out of all this. And I think they do a good job in the movie to convey that, that none of us really know what's happening.
Yeah. So I think Kevin Bacon plays guitar in Friday the 13th.
Like, I mean, he's in a band.
Well, you would never know by the way he plays guitar in this movie, because it's like clank, 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 clank. What song is that? And I'm like, Jesus, I don't know. What song is that, Kevin Bacon? And then the son's like, he's a guitar tech. He's like, "Here, Dad," and like fixes it up, and then he still plays it. And I was like, oh, he's gonna play a real good song, and he still played so bad, and I was like, ugh. I mean, I've been playing guitar since like middle school. I'm not good. I haven't gotten any better since middle school, but I feel like I could play a little bit better than Kevin Bacon. But he's like, what song is that?
Do it right now. Do it. Get your guitar out. Dun, dun, dun.
That's a violin.
Well, that's why you're fucking doing it wrong. That's why you suck on guitar. You're just playing a goddamn violin. I love the mystery of this. Like, I love the story that folds out and what happens in the middle of all this. So we basically meet two fathers and two sons, and we know there's something there. Just all, they have a neighborhood barbecue. We know something's amiss, and we're not really sure what.
Well, because Kevin Bacon's like, "Hey, do you remember that one girl?" And they're like, "What about her? And why do you wonder that?" And he's like, "I was just thinking about her." But so when he's doing that, he's taking like some aspirins or like,
yeah, they don't really.
I thought okay, so like when I said I didn't remember any of this, I was like, okay, I don't remember this, but he's like after he got hypnotized, that's when he started taking those, and it really only lasted those 2 scenes, but he's taken like 50 of them, and I was like, the dude's gonna like bleed out internally because of this, and his
Well,
liver.
and then he's drinking a lot of water at the beginning, but then when he gets hypnotized a second time, dude has like 60 cartons of orange juice in his fucking fridge, man.
I laughed at that because then he pours him and his wife a cup, and he's like, "You gonna drink that?"
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
it's good. Yeah.
It was pretty good, yeah. But no, there's some like really good scenes in this. I like the shift of like you said, you could kind of see his like descent into madness, and you could really it kind of unravels on how he's kind of like figuring things out.
When you do feel for him, like, because he is kind of going crazy, and like, nobody kind of believes him. And fuck, there is a fax machine in this movie,
There
Jeff. What
it
the
is.
fuck, man?
He's like, I got
Ugh.
16 work orders today. Oh my god. Also, you never heard another thing about her being pregnant again. They mentioned it at the beginning. He's like, well, that's great, we're pregnant again. And then
Oh
that was it.
yeah, they do. They don't ever mention that
I
again.
thought she was gonna be in like peril because of that, and he's gonna have
Huh.
to act to kind of save it,
I
or the
mean,
ghost was gonna do something
I
about it. But no,
forgot. I forgot about it.
they just mention it at the beginning. The sister does.
Yeah.
What is her name? She has a very familiar face. Hold on here.
Well, what I find funny, I think what they were kind of doing is normalizing the people too.
Just the
You
American
know,
family and all that.
like they're nothing special. And he even says, he even talks about their life being shitty, and then she gets mad and says, when you talk about your life being shitty, you're really talking about us. And
That's
so
true.
I mean, I think they do, so it feels like a real relationship in many ways, I think.
It
And I
does.
don't know why, but I find her very attractive.
Kevin Bacon's like wife in it.
Yeah.
She got better looking as the movie went on.
It is kind of true.
I was like, what happened? Did they just do reshoots or something? Because she doesn't look the same. But yeah, the sister was played by Ileana Douglas. And she's been in a ton of stuff. She was in Ghost Worlds. She's been in 120. She has 121 acting credits, so it's a lot of stuff. But yeah, she was really good in it. I liked that her friend was over and she like talks like Spanish to her, and then she's like,
Yeah.
we just smoked a huge joint, so I can't really do another hypnotism right now. And he's like, get it out of me, get it out of me now.
Well, and I think it's funny that she's all pissed that she has to leave, and this guy and Kevin Bacon's like, gracias.
He does. He says it so bad too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's like, yeah, yeah. I'm never sure exactly how to say it either.
you did good. You did good. But yeah, no, it's like I said, there's a couple scenes in here that I was just kind of like cracking up at, and we get. Let's kind of get towards the end. We're sort of there anyway, based
Well,
on what
yeah,
we
yeah.
talked
We're
about. So
basically, so he's digging all over the place. Hell, and then he digs this big asshole in the backyard, nothing. So then he digs a hole in the living room, the dining room, like of the wood. He just starts like digging into the wood. And then I don't know what it is about this basement. It's not really a basement. It's like this it's a hole in the kitchen that I guess maybe up north has. We don't have this shit down here. But it's just, it has a ladder, and it's just like a very tiny room. It has like the water main
it's like
and
a root cellar or something almost.
kind of, yeah. So he's down there, and he so it's concrete, but then he's like, I'm gonna fucking dig through this concrete. So he's like, he goes to the store and gets his fucking jackhammer. And this is a rented house, by the way.
Yeah, $800 a
um
month.
Fuck, you know how many people would kill for a damn house, $800 a month right now?
Yeah,
Shit, you can't even get an apartment for 800 bucks around here now.
can't even get a room for $800 a month in Pueblo.
So yeah, but for meth, you could get anything. You get a nice place for that.
Yeah,
Just trade some meth for a house. I'll be like, yes.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, so, yeah, he, so now he's digging in through the concrete, and he gets to dirt, and he's trying to, dig more, and he swings, and the back of the sledgehammer hits like the brick, and it's kind of loose.
Yeah.
And so then he's just tearing this wall down, and we find Samantha. And I don't know what that visual and just that whole scene and just I don't know. I dig it. I really really love it. And then he grabs a hold of her hand. I mean, she's a skeleton at this point. Like, I mean,
I have a
you
problem
know,
with this, and I'll tell you in a second.
just fucking tell me now.
So they say she's gone 6 months, right?
Yeah.
She's like a mummified corpse that has been in a tomb for years and years and
I mean,
years.
it is I mean, I don't know exactly about like
There was no
rotting corpses or anything, but she is wrapped in plastic that could like help. Like, I don't know.
they saran wrapped her to put her in the fridge or what?
They did. Actually, it kind of did. It's cold down there.
That's
You know, it's
true.
cold.
Yeah.
So because yeah, I forgot he took a box cutter and cut the plastic, and we get this terrible cut of like "Wah, wah, wah," like it's just not like
We get the flashback of what
not great.
happened, and
Yeah, so then we get the entire scene. We get that scene in its entirety of what happened. And some of this is like, I don't know, they make her out to be this homely, like shy girl.
the
Um,
the dads that were involved in this were like, oh, they used some words that aren't really acceptable, but they
well,
were
the
like,
son was like, "Oh,
she's
you mean
slow.
the R word?"
Yeah, and they're like, she's a little slow,
But
and I was like,
she didn't
she
act
wasn't.
like she wasn't. Yeah, not at all.
No, I don't know if
But
they were just trying to like discredit her to
and
like be
that
like, that's
could
why she
be it.
disappeared. So,
And that's probably it. You're probably right.
yeah.
Um, so we get the scene of her walking down the street. The house is being remodeled. The two guys are drinking. The two sons are drinking and partying in there by themselves because why not? And then they yell at her, invite her in. She goes in, and then they're messing around with her. They're wanting her to drink and stuff. And then they get forceful and what's weird because he's like, I want to kiss you, and she's like, okay. It's like weird, like I don't know why they made her. They should have made her like they should have made it more. I mean, I hate to say more violent, but that's not really what I mean.
Very
But
forceful.
they should have made it like they got her into the house and they were doing the. But I mean, not saying that she did anything wrong, but it's just weird, like the choices they made.
Yeah, the way they did it kind of makes you have some doubt on like if they were really as bad as like what they're going to show you, but they were. It was all their fault. It was nothing to do with her.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I mean, they did awful and terrible things that we won't necessarily say on the podcast. Don't want to trigger anybody, but they end up, yeah, they do kill her. They didn't necessarily mean to, but they did.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
um,
they're like, give me the coat to keep her quiet. And like, I mean, anybody probably over like the age of 5 knows that if you put plastic over somebody, they're gonna die. And that guy's like, I don't have a coat. Here's a big, huge sheet of plastic. And they're like, oh no, she's dead. And it's like, well, yeah, she's dead. You killed her.
I mean, they're all fucking high school students, so I mean,
Right.
I give it a pass. I don't, I
Okay.
don't, I don't knock it as bad as you'd think.
Yeah.
As some. So anyway, so then we find out. So then Tom goes to one of the parents of the football star. He was gonna, scouts are looking at him and all that, but he had previously shot himself. We skipped over that,
Yeah.
but he
Yeah.
shot himself over the guilt
Right.
of what they did. And so basically we get a really tense end scene, I think, with both the dads and the other son trying to stop Tom. I don't think we necessarily have to go into detail about it all.
No.
But it is a very thrilling scene, I think. The mom ends up coming back and becomes part of it. And I think it ends really cool.
Yeah.
I think some things were hokey, like Jake's like, okay, bye, mom, be careful of the feathers. And
Yeah.
you're like, what the fuck? And then I mean, at the end there's a gunshot through the second story, and it goes through the bed, and then it goes through the pillow, and feathers fall, and it's like that's a little hokey, but
Uh,
whatever.
I do like the premonition stuff. Like he gets these different premonitions. Like he sees the mailman, he sees the neighbor, and he's like, "They're gonna kill you." And they don't exactly play out exactly like he sees. Some parts do, but like ultimately they don't. And I thought that was kind of a cool touch that they don't follow it exactly. It
Well,
kind of reminded
even
me of that one. Was it Prophecy?
oh yeah, with Christopher Walken.
Yeah, where you can kind of see
So
what's going on,
or the bear, which
or the
one?
Dead Zone. I can't remember one of them. Anyway,
Prophecy with a bear, with a mutant bear.
yeah, that's the one where Kevin Bacon gets attacked by a mutant bear
So
in
there,
the forest.
this is something I've never really noticed before. But the scene where Kevin Dunn at the very end, Kevin Dunn walks past him and says they were gonna kill you, you
Yeah,
and Maggie both, and then sits on the stairs. That scene played earlier in the movie,
yeah,
but it was completely out of context until it. So he saw, yeah, you
because
like you
he
said, it
wakes
was
up
the
from a dream
premonitions.
basically, right? Because he's
Yeah,
the nightmare or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it kind of wraps up and they do the smart thing, like which a lot of horror movies don't. Like, oh yay, we solved the problem. And then they just stay in the house, but they get all their stuff
They
packed up
fucking leave.
and that this is the scene that I was like, God, that's such a dumb shot. Like it was almost like a scene from like Footloose or something, because the him and the like wife do that weird like hand thing, and he has this little heart tattoo there, and they do like a little handhold thing, and I was like, get out of here with that stupid thing. And
I
it
mean, I get.
basically it was kind of like a shot saying like love will conquer everything, and like we
Yeah,
did it
they're gonna be
together.
okay. You know, like they had to make you think that they were gonna be okay
We get
now.
that happy thing, and then we get like some demonic like speaking in tongue thing where the kids like and then it was like Jake, Jake.
And then we go to some pop song that closes out the thing. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you? So I remember Paint It Black. So Paint It Black is the song he's trying to remember
Hmm.
because during the scene where the guys are forcing themselves upon the girl, they crank up the music so they can't hear her plead for her life.
Right.
And it's Paint It Black. So that's what he was trying to learn. Why would you not end the movie with Paint It Black?
You would think. You would
No,
think.
just pick some shitty pop song to play.
Oh man, I'm glad we did
All
this
right.
because like initially I had my thoughts on it. Well, even before I watched it, I thought I had seen it, so there's one thought right there. But then as I watched it, I kind of laughed and other stuff. But I'm glad we talked about this one and just covered it in general because uh,
Well, it doesn't really get talked about. A lot of people have seen it, but you know, it's just one of those that isn't mentioned a lot. And I mean, I I like it.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna make you go first. So what do you give this? How many holes out of 5?
So I give this one a 3. It's not. I was like almost when I first finished it, I was like, it's definitely like a 2. And then I was like, hold on now, let me think back. Cause I mean, was the story there? Was the like, how did it feel like overall? Like some of the parts, like, and then after we talk about it, like I bumped it up to a 3, almost like a 3.5 for me, but I'll stick it at 3 because I think that's pretty fair. Because if I were to say, if, people always say this in Sixth Sense, if I look at Sixth Sense, that's a 2.5, 3 movie as well. Like, I don't think we don't even have to cover that now because I just gave everybody a free score on it. But
Well, I mean, Sixth Sense is really based on the ending, right? I mean,
yeah,
there is a mystery like Samantha, and it's not bad, but you know, once you know the main thing that he's dead, I'll be honest, I don't know that I've ever seen the movie more than one time. I saw
Sixth
it in the
Sense.
theater. Yeah, I saw it in the theater, and I may have seen it again, but it's not very memorable.
I feel like that is one movie you watch once and you're like, ooh, and then you
Now,
really.
Unbreakable, I've watched Unbreakable a ton, Signs a ton, Village a ton, you know, Lady in the Water, fucking one goddamn time.
I like that movie.
Fuck. Um, And then, so yeah, I give this movie a 4. I like it. I
There you
mean,
go.
I honestly was at a 5. Like, I'm gonna give this fucking movie a 5. But then, some of the issues and some of the things we laughed at knocked it down to a 4. So, but I love this movie for some reason. I just really like Kevin Bacon in it. I think it could be fleshed out a little better, and it would make a lot more sense and flow a lot better. Honestly, as a TV show, I think it would be awesome because you could, the Samantha one could be one season, and you could
Right.
sprinkle like the Neil and the
This
and
has
the
to
hit.
be this has to be where they got the idea for Ghost Whisperer, right?
I mean, it seems like it. Like,
And
I mean,
Taco loves Ghost Whisperer, and my dad watches it too. Sometimes I'll hear the TV, and it's like, oh no, it's a ghost, and she's like, I can help you. Go to the light. Go to the light. But no, like you could see a lot of different like movies in this movie. You could see either people that they got inspiration from it, or it became
but
they got inspiration. The
like
film
this
got
book is
inspiration
from
from
the
it.
50s, so there you
Yeah.
go.
No, I mean there's a lot to like. There's a few things that we don't like, obviously. It's very watchable, very passable, and I would say if you haven't watched it, for sure give it a watch. Like me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Um, so we appreciate y'all listening. As always, go to Instagram and Facebook and follow us, Night of the Nerdy Laser. If you like horror, and I assume you do because you're listening to a horror podcast, well, me and Corey from Spooky Dudes put on FrankenCon every year for the past 2 years, and next year is year 3. So go to frankencontn.com for more information. We've got a Scream Queen reunion with Brink Stevens, Michelle Bauer, Linnea Quigley. We just announced Alex Armbruster. He is the stunt performer for John Carver in Thanksgiving. So think Kane Hodder playing Jason, Alex Armbruster, John Carver. Really cool. We've got some other announcements coming from Thanksgiving as well. That's a scoop right here. And yeah, email us at Night of the Nerdy Laser if you have any questions, comments, or you want to suggest a movie. We'd love to hear from you. You can also leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. It's really easy to do. And how much does it cost, Jeff?
It's a big old $0.
$0 to review us and to tell your friends, and we would appreciate it. Hopefully we're looking into 2024, and I think some bigger things are going to be happening. We're having some doors open for us that might help us all out, so we'll get y'all more updated in the coming weeks or months. And until next time, what should they do?
They need to keep it bloody.
And close the door, man. Because somebody has to.
It's like a flashlight.